Good day everyone, I am Jaurigue, first year, Bachelor of Science in Criminology. An introduction to Philippine historiography, sources and discourses. When we say about the history, we think about past. According to Arthur Jaurigue, that history, the values of the knowledge about the past produced by historians, together with everything that is involved in the production, communication, and teaching about that knowledge. But why is history so important? Why do we keep on bringing what happened long time ago? Does it really matter? Yes, I can speak English, Tagalog, Bisaya because that was the language that has been used by my past generations. We have our culture, religions, and beliefs because that has been passed to us by our ancestors. And we have the knowledge on how to govern our society because we learned it on our past society. So, understanding the linkage between past and present is absolutely basic for a good understanding of the condition of a human being. That is a nutshell is why history matters. It is not just useful, it is essential. By Penelope J. Corfield. When we share something about history, especially it's entertaining and relevant, people will look for that and ask, what is your sources? You know, there are two kinds of historical sources, the primary sources and secondary sources. So what is the difference between the two? Primary sources refers to documents, physical objects, and oral or video described. These materials provides facts from the people who actually witnessed the events. Example of these are video recordings, dictionaries, letters, artifacts, and more. Second, the secondary sources refers the materials made by people long after the events being described have been taken place. The documents provide valuable interpretation just like textbooks, newspapers, article, encyclopedia, dictionary, magazines, and more. How could we make sure that information are credible and reliable? This is why historians must employ the external and internal criticism. This is to make sure that no false information being shared. So what is the external and internal criticism? External criticism. The authenticity of the document, it is the lower criticism that makes sure the historical material is genuine. External criticism deals with the reliability and credibility of a given historical sources. This focuses on understanding the substance and message that the historical materials wants to convey by examining how the author framed the extent and meaning of a composed material. History of the Philippine Island. The Philippines consists of over 7,000 islands inhabited by over 100 million people. We small bands of independent and skilled seafarers between approximately 2,000 and 1,500 years ago, many mountains and hills we transformed in a terraced farmland. Many still in use today are fed by ancient sophisticated irrigation system channeling water down from the rainforest above the terraces. And it is said that the steps put end to end would encircle half of the globe. The Sayun culture is one of the best early examples of extensive trade, culture ties, and possibly immigration into the Philippine archipelago. Objects made from gold, glass, bronze, weapons, tools, and mirrors were imported from mainland throughout this cultural region. Similar art and jewelry was crafted and the cremation of the dead was practiced. The Sayun culture is true to be the predecessors people of Vietnam who form a perennial kingdom from that period. Approximately from 300 AD to 1,000 large members of milice emigrating from or possibly fleeing the rapidly expanding pre-Vijaya Empire began to populate the Philippines during this period. The original Melanesian populations of the archipelago. More further inland to the highlands and jungles where they still exist today or intermingled with the successive waves of male newcomers who brought to Indian religions, Buddhism, and Hinduism. So the archipelago society became stratified into groups of 100 families or more called barangays, each led by a headman or dato. Several datos were led by a raha, who led several barangay called bayan. Those kingdoms became extremely wealthy and had trade relations with the entire eastern wood paramount. Among these seems to have been the cosmopolitan city-state and trading hub of Tondo, located on the island of Luzon. The barangays of Tondo were led by Lakan instead of Raha, and were democratically selected from among the datos of each barangay. Tondo expanded to control much of the island of Luzon, performing alliances and striking trade bargains to expand their territory just as often as through warfare formed from several ethnic groups, the Ifugao, in the highlands of Luzon. The Sultanate of Maguindanao, formed in the south, ruled over the hereditary line of sultans and maintained very favorable relations with the Dutch and English for over 3 centuries until finally falling to the Spaniards in the 19th century. In 1521, a Spanish expedition that would go on to be the first to circumnavigate the planet reached the Philippines. It was led by the Portuguese for now Limaholes or Ferdinand Magellan. The Raja of Cebu declared alliance to the Spanish crown and converted to Catholicism. The nearby small island of Mactan was not as amicable and killed Ferdinand as the disembarked with a small attack force on the island. The Spaniards left by would return quickly, sending the subsequent expeditions, and in 1543, Lopez de Villalobos renamed the island Las Filipinas after King Philip II of Spain. The Manunggul Jar. The Manunggul Jar is a secondary burial excavated from the Neolithic burial site in Manunggul Caves at Lipuon Point at Palawan. It measures 51.5 cm wide and 66.5 cm height. On top of the cover is a boat with two human figures that represent souls and on a journey to the afterlife. A pattern still encountered in the burial practices among the indigenous people in southern Philippines. The inside of the jar contains human bones which are covered in a red paint like Egyptian burial practices. The jar was also found to be equipped with numerous bracelets. The manner in which the hand of the front figure are folded across the chest. Also a widespread practice in the islands when arranging corpse. Manunggul jar shows that the Filipino maritime culture is paramount, that is reflective its ancestors' religions, beliefs. Those designs are proof of the Filipinos' common heritage. Manunggul jar also signifies the belief of ancient Filipinos in life after death. The Manunggul jar was found by Dr. Robert B. Fox in 1962. It was found alongside with the discoveries of the Tabon Man. Tabon Cave is known to be a site of jar burial with artifacts dating a range of 4,250 to 2000 BC. Manunggul jar was a perfect illustration of the creativity and sense of artistry of the Filipino people. Manunggul jar also depicted the Filipino values of respect for one's soul, compassion, nationalism, and faith. Manunggul jar served as a proof of our common heritage with our Austronesian-speaking ancestors, despite the diversity of cultures of the Philippine people. It was also a testament of the importance of the waters to our ancestors. The seas and the rivers were their conduct of trade, information, and communication.